The rental car's tires hissed on wet asphalt as Dominic Reyes followed the winding road that stitched the bluffs of Shelter Cove to the gray horizon. Rain misted the windshield, blurring low cypresses and the restless Pacific beyond. Shelter Cove looked nothing like the bright sidewalks of Los Angeles, where he'd spent a decade stalking red carpets with a telephoto lens. That was precisely the point of coming. He rehearsed the cover story Yvonne Patel had fed him on the phone. Former combat photographer, pivoting to private security, vetted, discreet, recommended by people who mattered. None of it was true except the word discreet. Dominic had always been discreet enough to hide his own name beneath the photos that bought him nights of cheap tequila and mornings of regret. That same anonymity was what Evelyn Vale's team desired now. A bodyguard who could fade into walls, one who would never be caught preening beside his client on some influencer's feed. But Yvonne, Evelyn's publicist and Dominic's sometimes source, knew the real reason he had answered her call: guilt. 3 years earlier, he had taken a picture of Evelyn Vale outside a rehab clinic, face gaunt, eyes haunted. The photo had sold for enough money to buy him a new camera body. It had also detonated Evelyn's attempt at recovery, according to the magazine profiles that came after. He told himself it was just another assignment. Then every tabloid used the photo to pin her downfall on diva excess, and Dominic found himself replaying the shutter sound at 2 a.m., as if it were an execution. Now, there was a stalker, anonymous letters, invasive drones, a pair of muddy footprints found beneath the cliffside windows of Evelyn's rented house. She had retreated to the Northern California coast to finish a memoir and reclaim her life away from cameras. The small-town sheriff was short-staffed. The studio wouldn't pay for a formal security detail, and Yvonne, perhaps out of sincere concern, perhaps out of pragmatism, had thought of Dominic. He parked at a cedar shake cottage perched above slate boulders. Waves threw foam against the rocks, and gulls wheeled low. The hum of his engine faded. Sea wind took its place. Dominic drew a breath, iodine, wood smoke, damp earth, and tried to imagine he was someone worthy of trust. The front door opened before he reached it. Evelyn Vale stood barefoot on the threshold, sweater sleeves pulled over delicate wrists. Her hair was shorter than he remembered, a dark cap tucked behind her ears, and her gaze held the alert caution of a deer listening for hunters. "Ms. Vale," he began, stepping onto the deck. "You're early," she said. Her voice was low, almost hoarse, the kind of voice coaxed by late-night arguments or too many cigarettes. "Come in before the rain decides it hates us." Inside, the cottage smelled of eucalyptus and coffee. An open laptop occupied the farmhouse table. Beside it lay a stack of handwritten notes, banded with a silk ribbon. The raw guts of her memoir. Dominic blinked, trained instinct telling him that here was the jackpot shot. Evelyn Vale, unmasked, writing her secrets. He could hear an editor barking headlines already. He slid the instinct aside like a glass of poison. "I'm Dominic," he said softly. "Reyes." She gave a curt nod and walked into the kitchen alcove. "Yvonne says you were in Fallujah?" Dominic's stomach tightened. He could recite the lie, or he could place one brick of honesty. "No, I was never deployed. I've covered conflict zones. But the closest I came to gunfire was a protest in Kiev." Yvonne exaggerates. Evelyn set a mug beneath the espresso machine and pressed a button. Steam hissed. "Exaggeration is expensive, but honesty, that's lethal." She looked back at him. "I can work with lethal." He waited. She offered no handshake, no smile. Only the smallest tilt of her head suggested he might continue breathing the same air. "Walk me through your plan," she said. sliding the mug toward him. Dominic pulled a folded map from his jacket, the same way he once produced parking permits to bluff past security lines. He pointed out the blind corners, the cliff trail nobody patrolled after dusk, the single-lane driveway visible from the highway. He described motion sensors he would install, times he would sweep the perimeter, numbers she could call even if he were asleep. Halfway through, Evelyn cut him off. "And your camera? Yvonne says you want to shoot landscapes while you're here." Dominic felt color rise to his cheeks. "I did bring it. Old habit. Therapeutic." Another pause, this one longer, full of unsaid things. She lifted her mug, took a sip, and placed it down with surgical precision. "Leave the camera in your room, unless using it helps me, not you. I'm paying for security, not therapy." He deserved that. He also deserved worse. "Understood?" "Good," she said. "The spare room is upstairs, second door. Dinner is whenever I quit writing. Until then, let me forget you exist." For 6 days, forgetting was the dance they learned. Dominic moved like a stagehand during blackout cues. Silently, competently, never the star. He jogged the property line at dawn, searching for footprints in the wet grass. He installed alarms, realigned deadbolts, replaced half a dozen exterior bulbs. He cooked omelets and left them warming in the oven because she rarely emerged before noon. When she did, she spoke about practicalities, Wi-Fi speeds, grocery deliveries, storm forecasts, never about movies, rehab, or the memoir. On the 7th evening, storm clouds parted, printing a burnished gold over the ocean. Dominic stood on the back deck with his camera, despite her rule, aperture dialed wide to swallow the changing light. He shot cliffs dissolving into fog, cormorants perched on sea stacks, and one frame of Evelyn's silhouette through the picture window, unaware. The shutter cracked. She turned, saw him, and vanished inside. A minute later, she was on the deck, sweater flapping. "What did you just take?" Dominic lowered the camera. "The sky, mostly. Show me, not a request." He scrolled to the frame, her backlit profile, chin tilted, twilight crowning the fragile angle of her neck. It was beautiful and invasive in equal measure. Her eyes glittered. "Delete it." He hesitated, confronted by the part of himself that adored an image like this, that believed capturing it proved he existed. Then he pressed delete. The camera asked if he was certain. He confirmed, and the image blinked into oblivion. Evelyn let out a breath. "Thank you," she said, though the words sounded extracted by pliers. "I'm sorry," Dominic said. "Old reflex. Reflex is just a muscle you kept using. Learn a new one." She turned to leave, then paused. "Listen with your ears tonight. The tide's highest at 2 a.m. That's when he'll try the rocks again, if he's real." "You think the stalker's in your head?" Dominic asked gently. "I think most monsters start there." She gave a faint, wry smile and went inside. That night, Dominic stashed the camera in the closet and sat in the living room with lights off, ear attuned to sea and wind. At 1:57 a.m., a faint clatter rose beneath the cliff windows, stone sliding against stone, followed by a grunt. Dominic grabbed the flashlight and rushed outside. He caught a figure in a black rain parka halfway up the rocks, clutching a rope anchored God knows where above. The stranger's head snapped up, reflecting the beam of the flashlight, and then he leaped back into darkness. A splash erupted. Waves swallowed footprints before Dominic could climb down. He filed a report with the sheriff in the morning. 2 deputies came, took statements, promised patrols. When they left, Evelyn appeared on the porch in sunglasses, hugging a mug of mint tea. "So he's real," she said. "Seems so. And you saw his face?" "Just the glint of goggles. He was prepared for the water." Evelyn shuddered. "If he wants a photo, he'll try again." Dominic studied her. "Could be more than a photo, Evelyn. She flinched slightly at the use of her first name. Then she squared her shoulders. I won't be imprisoned by possibilities. I came here to finish my story. Dominic nodded. Then, let me widen the perimeter. And maybe, let me teach you some basic defense. What would the tabloids say? Fallen star learns karate from disgraced paparazzo? We'll let them invent a better headline, he said with a grin. Something in the grin softened her. Fine. Noon. Bring coffee and a punching pad. They met on the lawn, sun filtered through ripped clouds. Dominic held a padded target and demonstrated how to strike with the heel of the palm, not the knuckles. Evelyn punched once, grimaced, adjusted. Again. Again. Each blow landed surer, louder. Her breaths came ragged, eyes bright with something other than fear. Think of something you hate, Dominic coached. She pummeled faster. Deadlines. Rehab clinics? She caught herself, choked a laugh. Your photographer friends. Fair. He inhaled the salt air. Think of something you love too. Hits harder. Her fists slowed. I don't know if I love anything. He let silence answer. She lowered her hands. The ocean roared beneath the cliffs like applause for an unseen play. What about you? She asked suddenly. What do you love? Light, he said before he could censor himself. The way it changes things. She regarded him, strands of hair whipping her cheek. Yet you took a piece of mine, he nodded. And I can't give it back. But maybe I can guard what's left. The next afternoons folded into an uneasy rhythm. Writing, drills, cautious dialogue. They spoke in increments, test balloons drifting between them. Dominic admitted his parents were hotel cleaners in El Paso, that he'd used the camera as passport out of poverty. Evelyn shared fragments of childhood in Nebraska, a farm lost to creditors, a mother who drank vanilla extract when the vodka ran out. One evening, storm clouds thickened again, turning daylight into bruised dusk. The power flickered, died. Dominic started the generator. Evelyn lit candles in mason jars. They played gin rummy at the kitchen island because neither wanted to leave the other alone in pitch darkness. She won 3 hands before asking, Why did you really quit paparazzi work? He tapped the deck against the counter. Same reason alcoholics quit. One morning, the hangover's heavier than the high. Was that morning my photo? He laid the cards down. Yes. She stared at him, candlelight dancing in her pupils. Tell me why you took it. Because you were there. Vulnerable, hurting, and I knew it would sell. I chose rent money over your dignity, and I've hated myself since. She exhaled through her nose. You know, I almost died that week. Overdose on Ativan and champagne. The clinic photo blew up, reporters camped outside, and I swallowed whatever would quiet the noise inside me. Paramedics found me in the bath. She rubbed her wrist like it were a fragile object. So, your picture is part of why I'm still breathing, perversely. Rehab doubled security after the press swarm. They watched me closer. Dominic felt nausea and relief swirl together. That doesn't absolve me. No, she agreed. But it complicates you. Her lips curved in a searching half smile. Maybe that's enough. Lightning forked beyond the windows, illuminating a wall of rain. Dominic gathered the cards. I'll recheck the locks. She caught his wrist. The contact was light, yet electric. Stay. Talk to me instead. A wave crashed, house timbers groaning against the wind. Dominic sat again. She didn't release his wrist immediately, as if verifying its reality. What happens when you finish the memoir? He asked. I'll send it to my editor, do a press tour, pretend the pages don't terrify me, she replied. Then maybe I'll disappear properly. Buy goats in Vermont. And if people still chase you? She lifted one shoulder. Then I'll let them. But the story will be mine, not theirs. Quiet settled, broken only by rain drumming the roof. Somewhere in the dark, gulls shrieked like tattered violin notes. Take my picture, she said suddenly. Dominic blinked. What? Right now, with candlelight. No makeup, no wardrobe, just me. She met his startled look. I want to see your new reflex. He hesitated, then fetched the camera from upstairs. He didn't adjust lights or angles. He simply framed her across the table, elbows folded, hair uncombed, candle glow gilding the planes of her face. The shutter sounded once. He didn't chimp the preview. He lowered the camera and waited. Show me. He turned the screen toward her. She studied the image, eyes thoughtful, half smile raw and unguarded. A tear slipped down her cheek and vanished into shadow. Keep it, she whispered. For yourself, not for sale. I promise, he said. Lightning cracked again, followed by a metallic clang at the rear of the house. Dominic's spine stiffened. He killed the candle flame with 2 fingers and stepped to the window. Another clang, closer, deliberate. Get upstairs, he told Evelyn. She moved without argument. Dominic grabbed the flashlight, the pepper spray, and a tire iron from the hearth stand. Rain sheeted across the deck, obscuring shapes. Then a silhouette emerged. A man in tactical rain gear, night vision goggles glowing green. He carried something small and metallic, possibly a camera, possibly worse. Dominic stepped onto the deck. That's far enough. The figure raised the device. A flash sparked, not light, but the brief flare of an electric taser. The barbs hissed past Dominic's shoulder. He lunged, swung the tire iron. It connected with the man's forearm. A grunt. The taser dropped, skidded across planks. The intruder backpedaled, scanning for a new angle. A second silhouette appeared behind him. Evelyn, clutching the padded, striking mitt Dominic had used for lessons. She hammered it against the man's left ear. He stumbled. Dominic tackled him, pinning ribs with his knee. Rain soaked all 3, until the world tasted of salt and rust. Evelyn ripped off the goggles. The stalker's face was lean, wind-burned, mid-30s, eyes dilated with more than adrenaline. He stared up at Evelyn, breath ragged. I just wanted authenticity, he hissed, as if that single word justified the breach. Dominic's hand tightened on the man's jacket. Authenticity? By terrorizing her? I love her, the man spat. Nobody sees the real her anymore. I see her. Evelyn's voice cracked like ice. You don't love me. You love the mirror you want me to fit. She stepped back, as though exhaustion folded her limbs. Sirens wailed from the highway, deputies arriving sooner than predicted. Dominic kept the stalker pinned until flashlights bobbed through the rain and uniformed shapes hauled the man away. Statements were taken under porch light, deputies swiping droplets off notepads. When the cars left, their red-blue strobes melted into the black coastal road. Inside, Dominic stoked the fireplace. Evelyn sat on the floor, knees hugged to chest, face streaked with rainwater and tears. He crouched beside her. I'm sorry, he murmured. For what? She managed a cracked laugh. For saving me? For needing to. She looked up. You think redemption is a finish line? It's just tomorrow, without repeating yesterday. He absorbed that. Then he took the memory card from the camera, handed it to her. Your image, your choice. She rolled it between thumb and forefinger, then pressed it back into his palm. I trust you. That's my choice. Heat radiated from the fire. Shadows flared across beamed ceilings. Dominic realized his heart was thudding, not from the fight, but from her nearness. I should, he began. Stay, she interrupted, echoing their earlier moment. She touched his cheek, fingertips cold from storm. He leaned into them like refuge. They sat shoulder to shoulder, watching flames eat cedar logs. Outside, waves pummeled the cliffs. Inside, time slowed until the only measure was breath shared. Morning broke calm, sky scrubbed clean. The sea, fickle in mood, now glittered jade. Dominic brewed coffee while Evelyn showered. He glanced at the single photograph still on his camera, Evelyn in candlelight, equal parts fragile and fierce. No watermark, no sales tag, just a promise. She came down wearing jeans and a worn university hoodie. "Sheriff called," she said, accepting the mug. "The guy's name is Seth Rayner, former freelance videographer. Obsessed for years, apparently. He'll be charged. Stalking. Assault with a weapon. Bail steep." She sipped, absorbing the information like triage. Then she looked at Dominic. "You'll leave when your contract ends." He nodded, unsure what answer she hoped for. "But I have a proposition," she continued. "Come back in a month when the memoir's done. Photograph me for the cover. Do it on my terms, your lens, no one else in the room." His throat tightened. "Why me?" "Because you understand the difference between seeing and taking now. And because I want someone in my life who can hold a camera without weaponizing it." She paused. "Plus, the goats in Vermont might need a resident photographer." He laughed, a sudden bright sound. "I'll bring wide-angle lenses." Evelyn smiled, first fully unguarded smile he'd seen. "Learn another new reflex while you're at it, how to stay." He reached for her hand across the countertop, fingers intertwined, simple as knot sailors use because they never intend to slip. The morning sun flooded the kitchen, gilding steam coiling from their mugs, crowning them both in ordinary exquisite light.